I call this council meeting to order at 6 p.m. I need a motion for the adoption of the minutes, please.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held at City Hall on June 14th, 2021 be adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. We have no delegations this evening. We have a public hearing. This is for conditional use PC 3721. And we'll open the public hearing for conditional use PC 3721. This is for Kenny's K9 at 75 4th Avenue Northeast. Is there anyone here to speak to the hearing?
I'm here if anybody has any questions.
Is that Kennedy Guy?
Yes, it is.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
So the proponent is here to answer any questions from council. Were there any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Be it resolved, and I so move that the public hearing for conditional use PC 37-21 for Kenny's K9 at 75 4th Avenue Northeast now be closed.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, council, before you, you'll see from the Planning and Economic Development Committee file number PC 3721, which is a request for a conditional use. The issue is to allow an animal grooming facility in a C1 or a neighborhood commercial zone. So the alternatives, we can approve the conditional use as presented, approve the conditional use with conditions, or to deny the conditional use application. So the brief background is Kenny's K9 has applied for a conditional use to allow an animal grooming facility now in a C1 or a neighborhood commercial zone. Applicant would like to move to this new location, which is in the C1 zone, but does require a conditional use for where it's located. Kenny's K9 had received approval to operate a similar use at their existing facility at 151 4th Avenue Northeast. The conditional use approval minute reference is there for your reference. The old location is just east of this new location, but the original one was in AM1 industrial zone. The application was circulated to various city departments. There were no concerns, and public notices had been sent to all property owners within 100 meters. And as you can see, there have been no objections. So it's the administrative recommendation, and I so move that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie approve the conditional use application of Kenny's K9 to allow an animal grooming facility in a C1 neighborhood commercial zone at the property 75 4th Avenue Northeast, which is legally described as lots B, C, E, F, G, and H, Plan 1643 in the parish of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Meyer and seconded by Councillor Buds. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We'll move into committee. First up is Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the agenda tonight is our account collection policy. And if council recalls, this is a policy that I did bring forward at our last meeting in committee, and there was no questions as it relates to the changes that we're looking at. And just as a reminder, we do take a look at policies on a regular basis, and this one is more of a housekeeping, if anything, in nature. And so it was updated in 2014. Prior to that was 1998. And you can see the primary policy changes are the use of small claims court and action and enhanced collection sources for fire rescue services. And this is more directed towards out of province license plated vehicles that are not covered by Manitoba Public Insurance. And then obviously some write-off authorizations where that's delegated to management, as well as some updates on the allowance account. So it is a recommendation of your committee, and I so move that the council of City of Portage la Prairie approve the updated account collection policy.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. And that concludes Finance Committee. Councillor Buds?
Yes, sorry, Your Worship.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee, Councillor Meyer?
Thank you, Your Worship. The City Planning and Economic Development Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. And Community Service Committee, Councillor Knox for Councillor Draycott?
Thank you, Worship. Nothing from community services in this portion of the meeting.
Thank you. And Councillor Wall, Waterworks Committee, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. And Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. And Public Safety Committee, Councillor Knox?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Public Safety Committee has nothing tonight.
Thank you. We have no deferred business this evening. We have some new business. First item is the 2020 audited financial statements, and this is Finance Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Buds?
Thank you, Your Worship. And the item here tonight is to review and approve our audited consolidated financial statements for the 12-month period ending December 31st, 2020. And this is not news to council because it's in my report. We've indicated that we have already received a report from our auditor, and just very happy to report that we do have surpluses of 2.4 million each for the general and utility funds, comparable to pre-audit results reported to council at their April 12th, 2021 meeting. And so we do have surpluses, and then we have a plan for those surpluses. So for the general fund, the 2020 surplus will go into a general police reserve, $796,500 into the Crescent Lake Causeway project, and the balance of our surplus will be allocated to the significant amount of investment we're making in our Saskatchewan Avenue West project. So we did have some borrowing planned for that, as well as the money that's being allocated to the Causeway project will reduce our amount of borrowing. So very happy to report that these surpluses are going to go directly at work at increasing infrastructure spends and reducing debt allocations for those two projects. On the utility side, the surpluses will be put into more reserves for planning for the future for water treatment and wastewater plant upgrades, and 1.7 million of those reserves on the utility side will be allocated to utility infrastructure reserve, which will reduce again our future borrowing needs for the impending water treatment plant upgrades. So you can see when we do have these types of reserves, which were higher than we had planned, which is good news, but we're turning around those dollars and injecting it right back into the infrastructure development that this area of our city desperately needs. So very happy about that. And as you can see, we're continuing to be committed to investing in that infrastructure with 18.7 million in new tangible assets being added in 2020 and directly related to infrastructure. So upon our approval tonight, the 2020 financial statements will be filed with the province of Manitoba, and these will be obviously posted on our city website so people can view them. So it is a recommendation of your committee, and I so move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the audited consolidated financial statements for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2020.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Our next item of new business is the award of a land lease tender, and this is Finance Committee.
Yes, thanks again, Your Worship. So obviously we've received some results of the tender we put out for some lease agreements, and the list of the current leases and the lease amounts, excluding GST, are for council's perusal. We have areas A through H on the list, and this tender was issued for these areas for the term of December 1st, 2021 out to 2026, November 30th. And they were sent to the previous lessees, as well as advertised on the City of Portage la Prairie website and social media sites and in citizens info page. So we've done a lot of work in trying to get the message out that these parcels are up for lease, and we have had responses. And so you can see the responses there and the impact in any differences that we had from previous leases. So there is some impact, but overall feeling that the difference is definitely non-significant. So it is the recommendation of your committee, and I so move that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie authorize the lease of city-owned land as legally described on the attached maps to the following: Area A, Thiessen Acres Limited, 29,000 per year plus GST. Area E, Sissons Farms Limited, $1,200 a year plus GST. Area F, Sissons Farm Limited to $500 a year plus GST. Area G to Thiessen Acres Limited for $65.50 per year plus GST, and Area H, Thiessen Acres to $1,200 a year plus GST for the period of December 1st, 2021 to November 30th, 2026, and that the mayor and manager of administration be authorized to execute the leases on behalf of the city of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions, comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Our next item of new business is changes to the council appointed committees, and this is community services. Councillor Knox, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. As we know, council appoints committee members annually at our organizational meeting each November. At our meeting on November 9th, 2020, council resolved that all members of council would sit on the board of revision. However, since then, it's been decided to decrease the board to the 3 following members of council: Councillor Espy, Councillor Meyer, and Councillor Wall. In addition, animal control bylaw is being changed to provide that the previously appointed Dangerous Animal Hearing Committee will now also hear excess animal permit applications. Therefore, the name of the committee shall change to the Animal Hearing Committee. Its members remain the same. So I move that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the appointment of Councillors Espy, Meyer, and Wall to the Board of Revision and change the name of the Dangerous Animal Hearing Committee to the Animal Hearing Committee.
Moved by Councillor Knox and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Next item of new business is the amendment to the Utility Maintenance Facility Award. And this is Waterworks Committee. Councillor Wall, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is regarding an amendment to the award of the design build of the new utility maintenance building. It's to amend the wording of Resolution 2021-0115 passed on June 14, 2021 for the award of the design build of a new utility maintenance building. At the June 14, 2021 council meeting, the design build of a new utility maintenance building was awarded with the following wording: that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie award the contract for the design build of the new utility maintenance building to PCL Construction with the geothermal heating option for the amount of $5,025,113, including PST, to be paid out of the utility reserve, and the council approve up to $250,000 from the utility infrastructure reserve for contingencies. Although the report outlined the amount of ICIP grant funding being received for the project and the reserve being used for the balance, it has since been decided that this information should be clarified in the resolution. The recommendation is, and I so move, that the council of the city of Portage la Prairie amend Resolution 2021/0115 as follows: that the design build of the new utility maintenance building be awarded to PCL Construction with the geothermal heating option for the amount of $5,025,113, including PST, with 52% of the project cost covered by ICIP grant funding and 48% of the project cost to be paid out of the utility reserve, and the council approve up to $250,000 from the utility infrastructure reserve for contingencies.
Moved by Councillor Wall and seconded by Councillor Knox. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that's everything I have, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. That concludes our new business for this evening. We have some matters of old business. The first item is the amended tax levy bylaw 21-8722. And this is for second and third readings. And this is Finance Committee. Councillor Buds.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this particular approval coming before council should not be a surprise to councillors. This is the same type of deferral options that we gave to residents some time ago in previous year, and we're doing it again. And so just as a highlight, again, just allowing taxpayers a little bit more time to pay their taxes out to October 31st without charges. And as well as the utility bill, we're basically, our regularly scheduled utility bill payments are due 30 days after, and now basically anything, any payments due between June 1st and October 31st can be paid by October 31st deadline without penalty. So giving people a little bit more time. I know there was definitely some uptake last time we did this. And from hearing, I think it was the Chamber of Commerce I read has already endorsed our plan to do this again. And so I think this is definitely something that we can do to help out those affected directly by some COVID-19 pressures. So we do also outline the impact of the city, and we feel it is minimal in terms of the benefit for residents. So it is a recommendation of your committee that bylaw 21-8722, being an amended bylaw of the city of Portage la Prairie, to authorize the levying and raising of property taxes for school and municipal purposes for the year ending December 31st, 2021, be given second reading.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And finally, that bylaw 21-8722 be given third reading, finally passed, signed, and sealed.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Thank you. Next item of old business is the animal control bylaw. This is 21-8721, and this is for second and third readings. Councillor Knox, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. As we talked in our last meeting, we are looking at making some changes to our animal control bylaw. Along with basic wording amendment updates, the main changes being proposed are as follows: that the maximum number of dogs, cats, or combination of both will be increased from 3 to 4. The process for excess animal permit hearings has changed. These applications will now be heard by the same committee of council that holds dangerous animal hearings. The process for adopting animals out of the animal retention facility has been added. The ability to appeal a decision after a dangerous dog owner has not complied with the original conditions for release have been removed. After our first reading on June 14th, the following two changes were requested by Animal Control and have been incorporated for the second and third readings. Number one, a notation in 16, redemption has been changed to note that the process is to apply to the Animal Control officer with payment made to City Hall instead of through the Animal Control facility operator with payment made to them. In clause 1311 was added to part 3 to incorporate a process and timeline for vaccination requirements after redeeming a pet that has been apprehended. So I move that bylaw number 21-8721, being the animal control bylaw for the city of Portage la Prairie, be now read a second time.
Moved by Councillor Knox and seconded by Councillor Wall. Any questions, comments on the motion? Councillor Buds?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I did not support the first reading of this bylaw, and while I do support many of the changes within the bylaw, it is the increase in the animal allocation is the part that I do struggle with. I don't think that we have as a council entertained more and more of these over the last number of months, and it is all around the amount and number of animals that are allowed. And I don't think by adding another animal in terms of our allotment do we actually accomplish what we're trying to do, and that is to deal with some of the issues that have crept up and as it relates to this bylaw. So many of the adjustments that are being made, I do support, but not the number, increased in number. So for that reason, I will not be supporting the second and third reading.
Thank you, Councillor Buds. Councillor Knox? Councillor Knox, your mic isn't working.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah, I have to apologize, Councillor Buds. I couldn't hear a thing you said except right to the very end. I apologize.
Did everybody else hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I basically said, Councillor Knox, that I couldn't support the bylaw. I didn't the first reading, and I don't support the increase in animal allotment. Everything else I support in it. I think it's a good cleanup and it was required. I just don't think that, you know, at the heart of the matter is we've dealt with a few of these, and increasing the number doesn't change our ability to deal with the complaints. And so that I just view it as, you know, something that we don't need to do and something I can't support based on the fact that these complaints aren't coming up because it's a 3 or 4 or 5. It's all of the issues are related to the number of animals and the lack of necessary, maybe some controls at times. So I am not going to support it. That was my message that I had communicated earlier.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And so I so move that bylaw number 21-8721 now be read a third time, finally passed, signed, and sealed, and that animal control bylaw number 16-8647 is hereby repealed.
Moved by Councillor Knox and seconded by Councillor Wall. All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. We have no further business, so council is adjourned at 6:21 p.m. and we'll move right into committee. We'll call committee to order at 6:22 p.m. First up is Finance Legislative Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your committee has nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee. Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Your Worship. The City Planning Economic Development Committee has nothing on committee tonight.
Thank you. And Community Service Committee. Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing from your Community Services Committee this evening.
Thank you. And Waterworks Committee. Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has no report this evening.
Thank you. And Transportation Committee. Councillor Espy.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing.
Gesundheit. And Public Safety Committee. Councillor Wall. Or sorry, Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing from your Public Safety Committee this evening.
Okay. So committee is adjourned at 6:23 p.m. Thank you for coming out, everybody.